Let's talk about election preparedness and the fact that the hottest topic right now is the fact that political parties, especially the opposition, has now come out clear to state that they want to have a parallel tallying center in the August 8th election. And they have given their reasons. They want to tally the results and they want to declare their own results. This has met criticism from the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. They say it's an illegality. It's the sole discretion of the IEBC. Article 138 of the Constitution, Sub-Article 10, 1 and 2 states that clearly. The mandate is given to the chairman of the IEBC. And to help us with this discussion is ILOG's national coordinator, Musao Mule, who now joins me in studio. Thank you very much. And right at the top, I read fear, I read intimidation, and I also read an independent institution that wants to stop something from happening. And a lot of those people, if you read a lot of postings, even analysts, they say they are preempting the possibility that there might be an unfavorable outcome if they let political parties and coalitions announce their own results. Do you agree?
It's a very good assessment. From where I sit, one of the issues which we expect in an elections is total transparency. You know, when you're talking about total transparency and you're saying, can people be able to see clearly the entire process, there are no black boxes in the process, everything is going in tandem and everybody can be able to see what is happening. That is our expectations as observers, that things become as transparent as possible. Now this issue about the parallel vote tabulation process, from where I sit again, it's like we are splitting hairs. Results are announced at a polling station. And the law or the amended laws at the moment speak about a process where the returning officer is supposed to be sending the final results from that tallying center, from that polling station to the national center and the constituency level. That is in regard to the presidential elections. Now we have observers, we have party agents who are posted in these different polling stations. They have access to those results. So the issue of tallying for me is not it should not be a big issue, because we have an observer or we have an agent who is able to walk away with that particular result form, take to their bosses or take to their seniors, collect that information and be able to give details about the sum of
you forgot the media.
Yeah, and the media, of course, yes. The media can also be able to pick the same results and be able to speak to their constituencies, the respective constituencies and audiences about what they were able to see
and
in this particular polling station.
It's not only having access to these results, it's also owning the results, because the agents have to sign against them.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So I'm saying my expectation, and in the first instance, this is not something new. Let me tell you, all political parties, since we ever started having elections, always have their own tallying process. Every candidate who goes to contest an election will also post his people and ensure that they get the figures which are coming from that polling station and tally separately.
Then what has changed?
I think the big issue for me is what you started with, when you say that there may be fears. That there are fears that I think the big fear for me, especially from an IBC point of view, is that we're going to have, especially the opposition, you know, when by declaring that they're going to have a parallel process, which I don't think it's a comprehensively parallel process, because you know a complete parallel process would be where we have them counting even ballots for that matter, and then coming up their own results. But the opposition is not going to be counting those results, or any party. They'll be counted by officials of the IEBC, who then now declare the results, which now can be picked up by all these agents,
in the presence
observers,
of all these stakeholders,
yes,
political party agents, individual agents, the media, the observer groups, all of them.
Yes.
All right.
The agents are entitled to get a copy of those results.
Okay.
Now, what they do with that result in terms of, do they want to put it together? Do they want to compare it with other results coming from that? Do they want to compare with their contestants, other opponents? Now, that is up to them, really.
All right. The law requires that once the results have been declared and the agents have signed against it, it should be posted outside, by the door of the National Tallying Center, right?
Yes.
Which means anyone can have access to this. still my question is that the problem of the IEBC? Is that where the problem of the IEBC begins? Or that is just one of the problems?
I think the fear of the IEBC is the end game. It's not really so much of where it begins, because any information which is available to the public, remember even the total results, even the presidential results, the ones which are coming to the National Tallying Center are supposed to be in a public portal, which means they're still accessible to anybody out there. Okay. So the end game in this is where the worry is. Okay. The worry is that we have opposition, or we have political parties which, after their own analysis or their own tallying, may actually be able to come up with a result which may be different from IEBC.
What they have.
So what happens in that instance?
Paint for us a picture of what a tallying center looks like.
Well, a tallying center, the National Tallying Center, the one we know in terms of the IEBC one, is what we expect that it's a data center, a data collection center. You're getting all this information from the different polling stations in the country. Remember Bomas in 2013. Yes. So all these results are coming in, streaming in, and they are able to be cast live so that everybody can be able to see.
The last election,
but you also have
they hung somewhere for so long.
Yes, but then you also have a team of people who are able to put the figures together for purposes of the tabulation process. Okay. So and that is verified. It's verified. There'll be people who can be able to verify that these are the actual results. And the declaration, once it has been ascertained, because sometimes, of course, we know there are issues which could happen. I mean, the last time we had issues about that result coming from that polling station to that tallying center. So we don't know what was happening in between. So you do not want those, you want to preempt those issues by saying we'll have a verification process which ascertains that these are the correct results. So that for me would be what a tallying center is. That is the official one. The political one, the political parties one, I would expect it to be just the party headquarters where they have their people. Again, they are receiving their information from the different party agents in the different areas. Remember, political parties may not necessarily even have to post agents in all stations. Traditionally, they have never done that.
But this time round, they're saying they will do that.
Well, and they have every right to be able to do that. If they have the wherewithal of being able to post over 40,000 agents in the stations, no problem. But the issue is that, do they have a system in which they collect information from each of these agents? If they have created a system, a mechanism, whether it's by SMS, whether it is by photos, as I think Raila was saying, they can be able to take photos and then they can be able to use these photos to tally everything. They can do that at their premise, at their headquarters, for their own purposes, but not for the public purposes that IEBC intends.
So the only difference in these two polling stations is one is the one that is run by the IEBC.
Which is the official one.
Which is the official one.
Yes.
The other one is run by a coalition or a political parties.
Yes.
But both are seeking to get the same results.
Yes.
So the problem should not be there. The problem, however, is in the end game, as you mentioned, which means after the results have been received.
Yes.
What stops me from telling my people that we have received all the results from around the country? We, as this particular coalition, Ken Coalition, we have 5 million votes. What stops me?
I think, like I said earlier, before we started our discussions, there are political consequences that we must be very aware of. Politics and elections are very emotive activities. I think the issue here is that you want, it's a matter of how we want to conduct ourselves. Do we want to create apprehension in the process? Do we want to tell our people or followers, let us listen to what this, because we are paying taxpayers' money to run this election. Remember, IEBC is not there because of its own volition. It is created by the public, so it's a public entity. Can we allow it to do its work, have our results, however we have tallied them, or however we have collected them, and then see what results they come. Now, if you have any particular problems with those results, then you can now be able to call our people and say, you know what, according to what we have seen, there is a discrepancy in the results that we have and what they have. Then, how do we handle those disputes? There is a due process which can be followed, and that means we follow the judicial system. And we say, we want to lodge therefore a petition or a complaint that the tallies that IEBC is giving are actually the wrong ones, and therefore we want to challenge that. And what is the evidence that you're going to be having to show that they were the wrong ones? You're going to go back to your records. you had your forms or your results form with the observers, which were given at different polling stations. That's what we come to with a court of law and say, see, these are the same IEBC results, but these are our totals are totally different. So from where I see it is, I think the fear is that political issue around the fact that you can be able to tell your observers, your constituents or your followers that this is the result, and therefore create apprehension within the electoral process that even as we await the final results, there is tension, and people may not even be receptive of the final results coming from IEBC.
That does not still answer my question of what stops me. Is it legal? Is it the laws of the land? Or is it the morality? Or is it just the aspect of trying to have an election that is free from violence? What stops me from declaring the results as a coalition? What stops me? Let
me put it in the simplest of ways. You know that agent at the polling station, the one who is given a result form and is told this is the official result, is signed, he signs and the presiding officer also signs, he's privy to the result. That's a Kenyan, isn't it?
Yes.
He has become privy to that result. And he can go out there with that paper or that result form saying these are the official results as you have seen them. So if that amounts to a declaration, there's totally nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
I think the declaration which is being preempted by some of the caution which is being taken by, especially by IBC, is when you want, especially the declaration of the president, that somebody goes out there, and we have seen this in different African countries.
Which is the only declaration, by the way, at the National Tallying Center.
Which is at the National Tallying Center. The declaration that this is the person who has become the president. We have seen how that has happened in a number of countries, that it can actually lead to shedding of blood. People can actually fight. I think we need to be conscious of that fact that, as I said, there's a lot of apprehension around that particular time. I would be much more comfortable, and there's nothing, by the way, as I said, nothing from the example I've given you at the polling station, there's nothing which stops anybody from doing anything and saying we have won. But we need order. That's why there's a code of conduct of all participants. And we say, let us allow IEBC to be able to tally their results. If you have problems with those results, since you have been collecting the same information elsewhere as observers, as media, as political parties, then we can be able to challenge them through a judicial process.
Article 138 of the Constitution says at sub-article 10, within 7 days after the presidential election, the chairperson of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission shall declare the results of the election, and 2, deliver written notification of the results to the Chief Justice and the incumbent president. To notify the Chief Justice means organize for a swearing in for the president and the rest. The incumbent, you are here or you're leaving, It's by law. I don't see anything there that stops expressly anyone from also declaring that result.
No, as I said, you see, by saying that the IBC will declare this, and by not expressly stating that nobody else shall, it's very clear from a legal point of view that there's no argument as far as that is concerned. That's why I'm appealing to the issue of the code of conduct and orderly practice of elections.
So this is about order.
Yes, basically it's just about order. That's why I was saying the end game is where the problem is, because when somebody goes out there and says, we are elected as I'm elected as the president of the country before the declaration, because even that declaration at the end of the day may still prove him right if he was to say that before.
That's the other issue, because the IEBC says if, for example, we have 2 coalitions and one coalition declares their results and they say, for example, we are 7 million votes and the other one says we are 8 million, and the 8 million votes indeed goes ahead and win, the IEBC still contends that is illegal.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. There's no express. One of the issues, and you've seen, we've become a very litigious country. I think in one of them, in the last meeting that we had with Bwana Wafula Chebukati, we told him that he needs to be to anticipate litigation in everything. And therefore,
and indeed he has
to anticipate litigation, because they will be coming. Look, we're already back to the courts again in terms of the audit issues, procurement and all that. Things are happening. You must anticipate. If you don't anticipate it, then you may not be able to make the right decisions. I think we are rushing the gun in this issue of the parallel tabulation. From an observer point of view, we'd want to see a very transparent process that allows everybody access to information and access to data. Making it too sensitive makes it very dangerous.
All right. I'll give you an example of what happened in the last election. We were using one national tallying center based at Bomas. we have this large screen that is projected, the media is here, and the media is also connected to the portals so that they can get these results real time as they are sent to the IBC, so they can do their own tabulation. Well, it's not in dispute that they will announce the eventual official results. So regardless of what I say, they have to make it. If it doesn't come from the IBC, then don't believe it, right?
Yes.
Then we have this screen and we are focused, everyone in the country is looking at it. Then it hangs. And there are no results coming in. 1 hour, 2 hours, there's no results coming in. And these other people have theirs that have results trickling in, and it continues to play. Are those some of the things that the IBC is trying to forestall?
I think if that is what they are trying to forestall, I think they're going to be in for a very dangerous game, in my view, because my expectation is that IBC has to make sure this time round we do not have the kind of problems that we had in 2013. Reason? People are going to be much more conscious of this process. People are going to get every information, and those photos of those results at the Tallying polling stations are going to be taken, whether people like it or not. I mean, WhatsApp is free in this country.
Oh, by the way, the last election we didn't have WhatsApp.
Yes, so WhatsApp is free. And we go to take those photos of that polling station form, and we shall share across this country. So any the so-called black boxes in terms of the process, that there's a place where you cannot be able to see what is going on inside this system, and things are hanging or not. I mean, I think it's going to be, it's already been overtaken by events as things stand, and therefore IEBC, and that's why we were a little bit worried about the procurement process, especially of the ICT, because we want these things to be tested in good time. It's good that it's good that they have talked about.
They have to be tested in good time.
Yes, and it's good that they have even said that they're going to do a simulation or mock elections in June, because I think that's a good idea to test it before. Yeah, but we need to have this system working way before, and we are clear about the process. But if there are going to be any hiccups, I think this time is not going to be very easy to be able to get away from.
Talk to us about the fact that because of those apprehensions and fear, they said there should be provision for manual election.
At the end of the day, as an elections person, you know, we cast physical ballots. We don't punch buttons. You know, we still sign a ballot paper, which is a physical paper. We still put it in a ballot box, which is a physical, again, ballot. And therefore, even the forms that we get in terms of the final declaration forms or results form, they're still physical forms. I think at the end of the day, if there's going to be a total, what do you call it, of the systems, failing of the systems, you know, your last resort still goes back to the fact that do we need to do a total recount of all the 8 million or 10 million ballots again because the systems have failed? Do we need just to get the results forms which have been verified and which has been also authenticated by the signing of the party agents from across the country? So the fallback, the final fallback of an election process
has to be the manual.
Is still the manual, and you can't do anything about that.
You have to.
Yes.
You have to. One of the technologies that they were proposing for this election is having ballot boxes with scanners so that if I have my vote and it's getting into the ballot, it can be scanned.
Yes.
Yes. That's part of the technology.
Which we are having now?
No, they propose.
Yes. No, there are quite a number of technologies out there which can actually be able to improve our elections. There are countries which have gone totally electronic. There are others which are using smart cards all over. So there are good suggestions moving forward. I think we were very cautious when we were discussing the issues of what technology to deploy for the current elections, mainly because of lessons learned in 2013. We felt that whatever we had used then, we first never understood it very well. It was not very well integrated, and that's the reason why we are saying, can we have it as an integrated system? So I think nobody wanted to go beyond what we have known so far at the moment. But in terms of technology, there's beautiful technology which can be able to improve our electoral process out there. But again, because of the cultural contexts and our local nuances in terms of our uptake of technology, you have to tread very carefully before you introduce a new thing in an electoral process.
And as we wind up, I know you've mentioned about technology and the integration, and KEMS is giving them a huge problem, although they have now given it to Saffron. What happened in the last election was that Saffron, then Morpho, had their own technology, the physical, the data, biometrics, and then we had Face that had to come in and now put in all this information. Now that's the integration now ensures that it's only Saffron that does everything. So from the biometrics, they go into the system, it's Saffron still doing everything and even putting everything in the in the system, like the biometrics and the rest, right?
Yes, yes.
So talk to us lastly about your view of how this election is set up, how it will be conducted electronically, and of course you've talked about the manual backup, but just talk to us about your view of how it's set up from this place to this place to that place to the National Tallying Center, so that we end this apprehension in the middle here. And if individuals don't transmit their own results, there can be something that happens in the middle.
I think basically the first technology, or in terms of the process, we know that voters are going to troop to the polling. First, of course, there has to be the voter registration process, which we have to finalize with. We are still cleaning up the voter register. It's important to keep saying that we need that voter register audited for purposes of having a credible register before the election, because without a register, there's no elections. Then once that has been ascertained, we have tested the technology which has been brought in place, the integrated technology. On E-Day, Kenyans will troop to those different polling stations, which are expected to be over 40,000 of them. And the usual process happens. Now, in terms of identification, which is, we expect the electronic voter identification devices, because they are integrated with our BVR kits.
Is that the EVID?
The EVID,
that failed terribly in 2013.
Yes, EVID, we had major problems with EVID the last time. And some of them were even operational issues, which are basically about training and capacity. But we are hoping that if it works, the process should be that EVID should be able to identify the individual voter. Yes, once that has been attained, then of course you go to the usual process of balloting, validating the ballot paper, you doing the...
So will the EVID work concurrently with the manual register, or the manual register has been eliminated at this point?
I think the fact that my understanding of the voter register at that particular point is that whatever we have in the EVID can be physically printed. You know, you have exactly an output which is manual, and we have the electronic.
The blue green books.
We don't expect. We have already since changed the laws to say we don't expect to have a number of registers, blue ones and red ones. And we are expecting to have the voter register in every of the station. So it will be, of course, there's a verification process. Sometimes something happens. I mean, people don't want to stay in a line for a very long time just because there's something which is tolling. So if you can be able to have something that can be able to cross-check also with, it will be important to have it at the polling station. So once the verification details are done, then the normal voting process goes on all the way to the booth and then the casting of the ballot. At the end of this, the counting is supposed to happen inside the polling station.
The same place.
Same place. Nobody's moving anywhere.
And remember, the amendment has reduced the number of voters to 500.
To 700. I think they moved it to the upper limit to 700. 700, in the last amendments. So now, I remember also one of the things that we also changed over time is that we used to have what we call polling streams. Now we have polling, every class is a polling station. So even if you're in a school which has about 7 stations inside, there are no longer streams. Each of them,
polling stations.
Yes. So each of them counts for itself. So when you talk about the 40,000 plus, those are the ones. You have to count, like in Olympic primary, there are about 20 classes which are being used. All of them are polling stations. So each of them counts separately. And then once the result has been announced and declared and signed by the party agents, then of course the process of ensuring that the document is put up at the polling station so everybody can be able to see. The results are given to the returning officer who transmits at the same time electronically to the constituency tallying center and the national at the same time. so that simultaneously, so that the result actually reflects immediately. The constituency is mainly for the purposes of having the constituency results tallied together. But the most important part is that it is transmitted nationally.
At that point, do they transmit all of it or only for the president when it goes nationally? The whole
nationally is for the president.
For the president.
For the president. We have the county level. If you have the results for the MP and the MCA, are the ones which are mostly needed within the constituency level. And then we have the national.
And they don't have to go nationally?
Yeah, they are not needed nationally. The county level, because we have a county returning officer, receives the results for the governor, the senator, and the women rep. Because again, that's at the county level. So again, those results are not needed at the national level. So what we are receiving at the National Tallying Center is the presidential results. Yes.
All right. So there shouldn't be an apprehension anywhere in the middle here, except when the technology of transmission fails.
Unless, of course, and of course now everybody has to watch out for that. That's why we want to know what processes, what systems are these. This result transmission system, what kind of system is it? Can it be interrogated by observers, media, and other people
beforehand? Long beforehand.
Yeah, so that we can be able to be sure if something. I mean, we have people who are very good in these things. They'll be able to know what the problem is.
And we also need to know the level of redundancy.
Of course, of course.
All right. Finally, so there is nothing absolutely that stops anyone from tallying, but there's everything that stops anyone from announcing, right? The conclusion.
Official tallying, IEBC.
Okay. A official announcement?
In my own bedroom, I can do my own.
Okay. Thank you so much. Mule Musao,
Thank you.
ILOG National Coordinator, for speaking to us about election and shedding light in this topic that has characterized the political scene, that of parallel tallying centers for the political parties or coalitions. Nothing stops them by law from tallying, but stops them from announcing the official results. Thank you once again. And of